Now, how to counter what I call the bookworm mentality. A lot of people, they're in the book. Study, 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 study. That's all they do. They just sit around and study stuff. Study the Bible, you know. And I think, you know, you have to counter that sometimes. Often people embed themselves in one building block. Some people embed themselves. I talked about people that embed themselves on an emotional level. That's all they know. They know God on an emotional level alone. Well, some people know God just on an educational level, and they stop right there. It's all about my intellectual understanding of the Word of God, and they get locked into one building block. The charismatic movement, maybe they got locked into one building block, the emotional side. But we need to spread our wings and let all of these building blocks be a part of us, the 4 building blocks. So how do you break out of this bookworm mentality? Well, here's how you do it. Romans 1 verse 20, from the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly observed in what he has made. As a result, people have no excuse. Notice that. They don't have any excuse for not knowing God. So a lot of times, in order to really know God on an educational level, you need to study creation. You need to study the hydrologic cycle. You know, there is no new rain. It's all the same amount of rain, water on the earth that's been here ever since creation. So, you know, these large bodies of water, the oceans, you know, the vapor comes up off the oceans, leaving the deadly salt water behind. And that's a critical point, leaving the deadly salt water behind. But these mist comes up off the ocean and turns into clouds and vapor, it lifts up, and leaving the deadly salt water behind, the clouds, this mist forms into clouds, the clouds are carried away. And somewhere way out there, they release their golden droplets of rain back on the earth, and the rain goes into the creeks, into the rivers, and back into the oceans again. It's a hydrologic cycle. So what I'm saying, if you really want to know about God, you have to understand the things that God has created and study the things that God has, study creation and how things work. Gravity, you know, is an amazing thing. You know, from God's perspective, God says, I need a big stir stick to stir up all these large bodies of water. And so he created the moon with the gravitational pull of the moon on large bodies of water. And so you got the oceans, you got the tides that come in and go out. Because if it was not stirred up, everything in our oceans and big bodies of water would die. All the fish, everything in there would die, and then we would die. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to see these cyclicals, you know, these circles of life that God has created. So what I'm saying is, in order to understand God, sometimes you need to break away from the book, the Bible, and study creation. Get your science book and study creation. You know, if someone asked me, how do I get to know God? I probably wouldn't start with the Bible. I would start with some of these Moody DVDs that you can buy online about creation, and I would point them there first. If you really want to build your convictions about God, study the things that God has made and created, and it will deepen your conviction about God. And then after you study that, go into the Word of God. All right, knowing God on an emotional level, knowing God on an educational level, knowing God from your experiences is the third one.